Grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and get cozy because you are listening to Mindful as a Mother with Paige Bruce and Lindsay Adams.
Do you want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily. Then you can distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. This is what Paige and I use for this podcast, and it seriously makes it so easy. It's easy to record, edit, upload, put the show notes in, and it's free. So if you want to start a podcast, use Spotify for Podcasters. Hey, I just wanted to pop on here real quick before the episode starts and give a quick disclaimer. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for therapy or the therapeutic relationship, and the information given in this podcast is purely for educational purposes and is not intended to replace the advice of a professional. Now that that's out of the way, I really hope you enjoy this episode. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you enjoy it because it helps the podcast grow. And don't forget to be peace, be love, be mindful as a mother.
Lindsay and I talk a lot about the nervous system in parenting, and we have just launched a totally free resource because we understand how hard it is just to understand the foundations and figure out what your triggers are to learn how to regulate your nervous system. So we have created the Nervous System Foundation. We call it Nervous System 101, and we're going to go ahead and put the link in our show notes. So if you want to learn the foundation and basics that we teach about regulating your nervous system, don't forget to check it out.
Hello and welcome back to Mindful as a Mother. Lindsay and Paige here. Say hey.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. I just got real Southern. Sometimes people think I have a Southern accent, and it makes my heart like really happy because I secretly want to be Southern. But anyway.
So many times I wish I was a Southern belle and I'm just from Idaho, which Idaho is not the Northwest either. It's not. A lot of people think I'm from Iowa.
Is it Mountain West? Is that what it would be called?
Probably, because I'm in the mountains and I'm west.
Yeah, that's Utah, I think, Mountain West. I'm from Utah. Utahns have their own special accent, but I don't know if I sound like a Utahn. A Utahn.
Maybe we're too close in accents, because I can't tell.
No, we're the same, probably.
Oh, that's true. So basically we say the same thing.
Fun fact, we are in Idaho together right now. And I was at the gas station last night and I was talking to a guy about buying lotto tickets because that's what everyone from Utah does when they go to Idaho, right? Mm-hmm. And he was asking me a question. I was like, I don't know, I'm from Utah. And he's like, what are you doing in Little Utah? And I was like, I've never heard Idaho referred to as Little Utah.
Little Utah.
I was like, but it tracks. It tracks.
Oh, dang. I feel a little less than now.
No. Idaho is like a secret, like a best kept secret that it's very pretty here.
There are so many natural like wonders and places of exploration they don't put on the map here.
Yeah, because they don't want people to move here.
Yeah, because they don't want people to know. They don't want people to move here. Yeah. We hate everybody.
Speaking of, same gas station, we went there to get energy drinks because we're like a lot of podcast episodes deep. And there was a hat in there that said like no vacancy, and it had Idaho on there. So they don't want anyone.
No vacancy.
They don't want anyone exploring Idaho.
Well, welcome back to another month, another Q&A. We love being here because we get so many questions constantly on our different social media presences. That's just a weird word. So on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and in our Gmail. If you have a question that you would like some general direction with, you feel comfortable writing in, we can keep it anonymous just like we normally do. But send it into the email, mindfulasmotherpod, pod, @gmail.com, or follow and like us on TikTok, Mindful as Mother, and slide into our GMs. Or DMs. Don't slide
into my DMs on TikTok because I don't know how to work my DMs on TikTok. And there are DMs on TikTok and they're shut down. But
you can slide into our Instagram DMs or email us or just post comments on videos. But you can submit, like we have the Q&A badge on TikTok. I'm learning TikTok, which sounds weird, but you can submit a question that way as well if you have them. And my advice when submitting questions is be as detailed as possible, because then our answers will be the most tailored to you and your specific situation.
Yes. And for those that are new here, which I don't know why I haven't done this before, but Lindsay and I are both therapists that work primarily with children. She's licensed in Utah, I'm licensed in Idaho and Arizona. Yeah. So we have like just this straight shot of states from north to south border.
West Coast.
We met, we became best friends, and when therapists meet and become best friends, they naturally start a podcast. And so we have Mindful as a Mother, which is our combined company where we have a ton of free content. We're really passionate about supporting parents in their healing journey while we also experience our very real healing journey as therapists and parents. And we always have like resources. We have email newsletters, and we do sell some virtual offers and in-person stuff.
Yeah, so check that out.
At the link in our TikTok, Mindful as a Mother.
Uh-huh. Hit us with the first question.
Okay. How do you make your 13-year-old semi-give a crap about school? No matter what I do, I can't get him to pay attention in class, turn in homework, complete it correctly, and I don't have time to be on him 24/7. I tried, and it makes me nuts.
What? Okay, so you can't. You can't make anyone care about anything they don't want to care about. But what do they care about? Do they? And how can you use that as, I was going to say leverage that, but then it sounded like super manipulative.
We're not leveraging our teens.
We're not, no. But a little. How can you use that as a motivator? So maybe they care about friends. Maybe they care about video games.
Yeah.
What can you do to incentivize them to care about school?
Yeah. One thing I find a lot with adolescent parents that I work with is we're having a hard time allowing for consequences. And it's not like I'm yelling at you, I'm forcing you to do this consequences, but natural consequences that they can experience kind of underneath our safety net-ish. Mm-hmm. Before they turn 18, that they would naturally be experiencing as they move into adulthood. So it's like you're not turning in your homework and you're failing. So now you fail. And now you don't get to do XYZ. So there's different types of, there's a natural consequence, which is just like what would occur had this happened just in the wild. Mm-hmm. Natural, wild, makes sense. And then there's logical. So we're tying it together. So it's like, oh, even if the school district's going to let you play basketball with the C, I'm not. Like, that's not okay. So,
and then you don't have to engage in the power struggle. Mm-hmm. You set the expectation ahead of time. Like, you're not going to hang out with your friends if you have a C or below or whatever that looks like.
Yes.
And then you don't fight about it.
Yeah,
you don't engage in it. You don't nag. You don't do that. And eventually they will learn that if the thing that they care about is important enough to them.
Cell phones, video games.
It's always
social connections.
Technology.
Yeah, that social connection is a huge motivator in adolescence. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if you really want to do XYZ, then we're going to have to figure it out. Let me know what you come up with.
And I'm here to support you. I'm here to put systems in place. But maybe a bigger thing to explore is, why does your teen not like school? And what can you do to make school more fun and engaging for them?
Yeah. Yes. Oftentimes when I hear of adolescents not turning in homework, it's less about I didn't do the homework and more about I'm forgetting. So get curious. Mm-hmm. Like, what's happening? Why?
Keep being curious. Keep asking questions. Is that a TikTok sound? I feel like it is.
Is it? Keep being curious.
Keep asking questions. Yeah.
Okay. So we were just told that we need to limit snacking for our 8-year-old. He has autism and is a picky eater. What ways would you do this so that we don't create body issues later?
Okay, so kind of a tangent, but also applies. I've been reading like a lot of articles on the French approach to food and eating for kids, because my kids are like very big snackers. And when I visited France in 2019, I was like enamored at like all these kids like sitting in restaurants eating like grown-up meals without like losing their shit, because you don't see that in America.
Yeah.
And they have like pretty structured snack times that they let their kids choose the snack times, but they let their kids know that like you don't there's not really access to food out of snack times, meaning, and there's plenty of snack times so that they're being nourished. They're not hungry. So that's the important thing. You want to make sure your child isn't hungry, but creating a structure or a schedule. And so maybe that looks like breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, bedtime snack. That's still 3 snacks a day. That's a lot of food. Yeah. But it helps them eat better at meals. The reason I started researching this is my kids are really picky. But also even my non-picky kids, my girls, would prefer to snack over eat the meal that's made for them. And I don't want to give them body image issues or restrict snacking, but I want to encourage them to eat the food that we made.
Yeah. So my 4-year-old is pretty rigid. And we have a lot of power struggles around snacks. One thing I did is I created snack drawers, and I refill them every 2 weeks when I can afford to, because these kids are wild. But so then after school or childcare, they like the house rule is like you have a snack. It's snack time when you get home right away from school, and so they can pick 2 snacks from the snack drawer.
I love that.
And then we have dinner. And then she sometimes will eat dinner, sometimes won't. The family rule is that whether you eat or not, you sit at the table for family dinner. Like, we all sit together.
Also family rule.
Yes. And then, so what it looks like is you can ask to be excused whenever your body says that you're done. And if you still have dinner on your plate, then you save that. Like, leave it where it's at the table. And if you get hungry between now and bedtime, that's what you eat.
Yes, we also do that. I think it just there's the power struggle that comes in, or the whining later of like, well, I don't want that, or I want a snack later. And so that's where I was like trying to find a way to like, how do I encourage them to eat more without restricting the snack, right?
Yeah. Well, and when we're speaking of an autistic child, so much of it has to do with the sensory experience.
Yes.
So I would even encourage, like, it's maybe not typical, but if there's specific sensory like snacks that they're drawn to, can we incorporate that into dinner?
I love that. So Sam has autism. I feel like I bring that up every episode. Everybody,
it's relevant.
My son has autism, guys, in case you didn't know. And food is a big part of that for him. A lot of it is a sensory experience. And so food and parenting around food has been one of our biggest struggles with him lately. And we found that if we just put a variety of foods, and there's like safe foods, I call them green foods in our house, like they're go. Green means go. I know that there's at least a few things he will eat to get enough nutritional value, but I also put everything on his plate. Yeah. So like a little bit of everything, and he may have that automatic reaction of like, ooh, I don't want to try that. I don't push it. I'm just like, we ask that you take a no thank you bite is what we call it, of something new. Yeah. We just get a little
like it. No, thank you.
And if I know I'm on a tangent, but if they don't even want to take a no thank you bite, they can like play with it, smell it, look at it, like get more familiar with that food. So if you're dealing with autism, it's a good method to try.
I love that. I love that you call them go foods also, because I think in my own trying not to create body image issues with my kids, I try not to label things good and bad, right? And I try not to label things healthy, not healthy. And so I've been really struggling with verbiage that I feel like is neutral. So I'll talk about like everything's healthy in moderation. Like we can have a little bit of everything here and there, but I don't want to get like really into it and lecture, right? Say 95% less. So I like that you call them go foods.
Yeah. And sometimes like, so if they want chips and it's really close to dinner, I will say, let's put some chips on your dinner plate. So like, how about we wait? And I set the chips on the counter wherever I'm cooking dinner and say, we'll set these right here so mom remembers. And if I forget, please remind me, we'll put some chips on your dinner plate. It's more than okay to have some chips. So that can be a good way to like phase out that snacking. And I don't know why they're having you reduce snacking. The other thing that's important to teach kids, specifically ones who struggle with food stuff, is body awareness. So how does my body know when it's full? How does it know when to stop eating? Am I mindlessly snacking? What is my body telling me? Starting there and asking those questions can help kids because with neurodivergence, specifically like autism and ADHD, eating is a stimming thing. And it's not that that's bad. That's a neutral thing. I do it to stim, but it can lead to like binge eating. And so something that you want to do is teach your kids to be in tune with their body. Am I eating because I'm bored? Am I eating because I need stimulation or because I'm stimming? Yeah. And you don't have to use those like exact words, but do I need something else to do? Do I need something to do with my hands? Do I need to move my body? Do I need something crunchy? Can I chew on ice? Like, what is the intention of my eating? Is it actually physical hunger?
Yes. And what I love about the body fullness, the awareness of this in our body is when you're creating a foundation for your kids for even emotional regulation. But this is the program that I'm working for myself to heal my relationship with food in adulthood.
Agreed.
So I would love to set this as a foundation for my child.
Yeah, and it's a process, and there's a lot of food shit to unpack that I have that I think everyone has. Just something super cute is because we talk about this in our house, my girls will come up to me and they're 4 and they'll grab their belly, like, and make their belly talk, and like, my belly's saying, I want applesauce. Like, they make their belly talk to me. And I'm like, okay, like, we know we're talking to our belly.
What's that movie with Jim Carrey where he makes his stomach talk?
Yes. I don't know what it is, but I know exactly.
Is it the animal one?
Ace Ventura? Or is it The Mask?
I don't know, but Jim Carrey, 100%, that is what that reminds me of.
Yes, me too. And I want to draw a face on their belly.
Every single time.
My belly's saying, I want this. And teaching your kids body attunement is really good for being tired too. Like, is your body telling you you're tired right now?
Basic needs. And there's a lot of times, like with adults, this is something we work on. We work on journaling, like when we feel tired, when we feel hungry, when we feel thirsty. Just to start to build that foundation, because 80% of all communication in ourselves happens from our body to our brain. And it creates trust within ourselves. A lot of times as kids, we were told not to trust our feelings, our thoughts. And if you come from a really like old school parenting home, or a neglectful home, or like rigidity, or maybe you just weren't taught these things, you become very disconnected from your body. And that's the first step to building awareness and healing. I love it. Okay, question number 2. 3, damn. Question number 3. Sleep. How do you get a 6-month-old to sleep? She slept better as a little infant than she did now. There's so many exclamation points. I really needed to like live the experience of that question. Okay, I feel like I am her. I have been her. And infant sleep is not something I remember well, or like the strategies I used at the time, because I was in pure freaking survival mode, specifically with my twins, but also with Sam. Let's talk sleep regression, because sleep regression is so real in that first year of life. There is a 6-month sleep regression. And what that looks like is developmentally, we're having so many leaps. We're learning so much. We're starting to connect sequences that our sleep is disrupted by our brain development. What is that thing called where it like shows you the leaps that your child's Wonder Weeks. Wonder Weeks. Okay, look into that. See if your child is in like one of those. Giving yourself a lot of grace and patience, and maybe nighttime sleep means that like nap times need to be adjusted. Do they need more activity or stimulation before bed? Are they eating enough before bed? Like, what's causing them to wake up, I think, is something to look at. Are they, Sam had a thing. It's like, I think it's called habitual sleep waking. So his body would wake up at the same time every single night. And I did a lot of research on it. And one of the things they said was because like his body just got used to waking up at that point in the sleep cycle, to set an alarm for like 10 or 15 minutes and go in and like rub his back. And so enough to cause him to stir, but not to wake up. And that would like reset the sleep cycle, and it freaking worked. I was like, whatever, I'll do anything to get some sleep at this point. And so I did it, and it freaking worked. Yes. So the thing I want you to hold on to is knowing that this isn't forever. Okay, sleep regression usually only lasts anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks being like the outlier, meaning like not as common. So it should be over in less than a month. And we are starting consistent routine. So that too, at 6 months old, each baby's individual, and how you practice as a parent is different. So if you're like practice attachment parenting and you hold your baby to put them back to sleep, and that's not interrupting with your ability to function during the day, that's great. But we're teaching them a way to put themselves back to sleep. It depends on the development of the nervous system and their ability to learn to fall back asleep. And can we normalize that like not all kids are great sleepers, and it's nothing that you're doing as a parent? Yeah. Sometimes it is purely temperament. Yeah. And sleep in that first year of life has nothing to do with you as the parent, other than like meeting basic needs. Yes. And so like you can do these things to like problem solve and
and you can do the research and try the tips. But my other suggestion is to get support where needed. So like if they're waking up all the time at night, is there someone who can stay with you one night a week and get up with them? Is there someone who can watch them for a few hours during the day so that you can take a nap? Like, what do you need to support them? Like, what support do you need to be able to support your child? And how can you achieve that within your support system? Because, you know, some kids don't sleep through the night till they're like 4.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So true. Yeah.
My kids still nighttime wake, and they're at the point where, and part of it is it's not something I've actively tried to break because I feel like it will resolve itself.
Yeah.
They're not up, they're not upset, but they wake up in their own bed and they come in, they crawl in our bed and they fall back asleep. Not every night, not every kid. Yeah. Sometimes we wake up with 1 kid in our bed. Sometimes we wake up with 3 kids in our bed. Sometimes we wake up with no kids in our bed.
It like blows my mind that you would go to sleep and then you wouldn't wake up when they climb into your bed, and then you just wake up and there's children there. Do you wake up in between, like when they're climbing in?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I also, so like the way our house works, Tim's a lighter sleeper than I am, and I have to take medication to sleep because I have nightmares if I don't. PTSD, woo.
We're all traumatized here.
So I had a hard time, I think, when my kids were younger because I couldn't take that because I was either nursing or because I had to get up, be able to get up, or like I can still be woken up. Like if you touch me or like I'm touching Paige right now, like I will wake up. I'm not going to not wake up. Or if a kid's crying, but if they're very quietly like climbing in my bed, I might sleep through that. Okay. And so it's been a little bit about like, I know that Tim's there and we have the plan, but also like I can be woken up, but sometimes I'm just not.
Okay.
And my kids are old enough that it's not a danger for them to sleep with me.
Yes. And it depends on your parenting style. So our next question actually is similar to this, where it's tips on transitioning from co-sleeping to sleep training in their own bed for a 10-month-old. And so something that I wanted to specifically bring up is when my youngest was a baby, I was working full-time and I was in graduate school full-time. And so I was working, these were my hours of shifts. I'd work a 12-hour day, a 14-hour day, and then a 10-hour day, like in a row. And so the repeated waking at night when it wasn't like a hunger cue for me, I could not function during the day. And so like Zane would take over to do nighttime like feedings and stuff from a young age. But at that point, I really needed to sleep train because it was really impacting my ability to provide for our family during the daytime. And there wasn't anything that I could change about that situation.
Girl, same. So when I had my twins, Tim was working out of town Monday through Friday. So the first, and then my C-section was infected. That was a wild ride. But I had to sleep train them, or I had to have some kind of routine or have them in their own beds because when they were younger, them being in my bed affected my sleep, even if they were asleep the whole night, which they weren't. But it was like the only way I could function.
Yes.
Because I was home alone with 3 kids and I was still working. And so I think finding whatever method works for you, and you can Google a bunch that aligns with like your parenting style, but then giving yourself the grace, space, and flexibility to adjust that method if necessary.
Grace, space, and flexibility.
Yeah.
I feel like a noodle. Grace, space, and flexibility.
Yeah, you need all those things to adjust to like what works for you and your family.
Yes. And if you're not getting enough sleep, the chance that you will experience like delayed postpartum depression and anxiety significantly increases. So it is very much you need to sleep as a care provider. Even men can experience postpartum depression and anxiety. It's like as a care provider, you need to prioritize sleep. So here's some skills that we're going to talk through. And as we like to say, take what works and leave the rest.
Can I add something real fast?
Yes.
The transition from co-sleeping to like a new routine is going to be rough. And I don't want you to give up just because it's rough.
Yes.
So go into it knowing that it's going to be hard, but that hard is temporary.
Yes, exactly.
And then my other thing is maybe start with transitioning during nap times.
Yes. So what I was going to say is co-sleeping and allotting for that, you are doing a level of co-regulating where your baby is feeling safe and gaining that level of safety and comfort from you directly. And so when you're trying to create that separation, you are aware of it. Your baby is aware of it. Okay. And so we're going to move into it slowly and create a consistency of routine where we can establish a sense of safety even with like your limited presence. We're trying to extend it. So we're going to move slow, we're going to move intentional, and we're going to move predictable. So starting at nap time, and what does nap time look like, right? So maybe it looks like we eat lunch, we read a book in the chair, in bed, and then maybe the baby falls asleep, like nursing or feeding, or 10 months old, you probably ate, maybe you like rock them to sleep and then you lay them down. And if they wake up during nap time, that's your opportunity to kind of provide a soothing environment without picking them up, and then just like repeating that. Because you, by repeatedly meeting the need within the space that they will be sleeping in independently, you are extending your safety to them in a new environment, creating those new associations.
Yes, and this is where you call in the troops, because this is a lot of energy. And if you have other kids, if you have a life outside of being a mom, like you need to sleep, you need that support. And so that co-regulation doesn't always have to come from you. It can, and you can have other people in your life support you in the other tasks so you can devote your time and energy to this. It's also like something that I feel like needs to be the priority at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. And so it can look like hopefully that 7 sisters concept that we talked about. Like I want you to have natural supports. As humans, we don't have enough natural supports. Okay? And if that's a limiting, let's talk about a transition. So baby wakes themselves up, and then so this is what I used to have to do with my youngest is while she was laying in bed, I would pat her back. And it was exhausting, but I would pat her back, and then she would soothe back to sleep. I wouldn't pick her up, I wouldn't remove her, but I would pat her back and put her back to sleep. Whatever way you can extend that level of safety to it. To allow for that. And then as nap time progresses and goes well, where you can lay them down, they're feeling safe, it's a comfortable environment, maybe you got the white noise, like whatever. My youngest kid was the most demanding sleep-wise. Like as an infant, I would have to do like these really dramatic squats and specific movement for her to go to sleep. And then she used to get so angry with me because my torso is shorter than her father's. And so when I would hold her on my chest, her toes would touch the top of my thighs, even when I was standing and like walking, and she would get so angry. So then her dad would have to hold her, and she would like dangle, and then she would go to sleep. So it was like very specific, and we needed like all blackout curtains. We needed white noise, like, and none of her siblings needed any of that. So it was a wild ride. But by consistently meeting the need without like the removal and like we're backing off now, right? We're teaching her the new skills and extending that level of safety.
I love it. And Godspeed. And
Godspeed.
And if you feel pressure to, like, if you're transitioning to their own bed because you feel like it's time and you're ready and you need that, do it.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it because of pressure, don't do it.
Yeah. Plain and simple. Don't do it if it doesn't meet your need.
And it's okay to try and say, I'm not ready for this. I'm not in the space to give this the energy and time that it deserves. And I'm going to back off for a little bit and try this again in 3 months or 6 months or whatever that looks like.
When they're not in the middle of a sleep regression.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's all the questions for today.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming to Mindful as a Mother podcast. If you'd like more of us and Mindful as a Mother, you can find Paige at Instagram at Parenting with Paige and Lindsay at Linz_Adams LCSW. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, and in our Facebook group, Creating Community and Smashing Parental Stigma, Embracing Mindful Motherhood and Positive Parenting. Thanks so much, and see you next time.